listening and reading and attempting to learn is the less I thought and the more I felt, the more I knew. And that's really what you've got to do. Shut the damn head off, open the heart up, and before you know it, you're going to start to get some knowledge and wisdom. Every time I allowed my mind to get in the way, I was trying to figure out what people were saying rather than feeling the essence of what it meant. See the difference between those two things? And you know that when you're inspired by something, it lives with you forever, for the rest of your entire life. Whereas when you're in fact in a situation, where you're contemplating and trying to think of what the word means and how it affects you and how important it is to you, what you're doing is letting the essence of the message go. And that's not what you want to do. You want to do the opposite of that. And it's a hard thing because most of us have been taught very well in our world, all of us have been taught very well in our world, that in fact it's what we know that matters. And what you know doesn't make a bit of difference, to be candid with you. What you know has no bearing on who you are as a person. What does have a bearing on who you are is what you do. And I know one thing that I've learned over the decades is that the only thing that I remember about people, is that the one?
This is
The only thing I remember about people is their contribution. How about you? Now, it's very interesting, you know, how many of you went to university? Well, what's really interesting about university, there are often professors at the university that were brilliant, and you were enthralled with what they said. Now, you don't remember a damn thing they meant. They were brilliant. But how many of you had that professor or that teacher or that instructor that in fact was incredibly brilliant because what they did is they spoke from their own experience and depth of knowledge? That's really what you want to do. And to get to that place, you have to humble yourself and pretty much try to forget everything that you've ever learned in the past. Try to forget all of that. It's mostly nonsense, to be candid. And then start building from the essence of what matters. And, you know, there is, for instance, the 10 Commandments that Judeo-Christian theology talks about quite a bit. I think there are 3 things that we really have to know. And they have nothing to do with 10. What do you think the number 1 thing is you have to know?
Love. You don't know anything.
No.
You're love.
You have to be authentic. That's number 1. The first rule in being a human being that is effective, happy, successful, healthy, well, is you have to be authentic. Now, to do that, it's not about externalizing authenticity. It's about internalizing your authentic self. And let's go through that so you understand what that really means. It's not about what you think others perceive you as. That doesn't matter. What matters is what you perceive yourself as. Because what you perceive yourself as can be endless potential or major limit. One or the other. So authenticity is the number 1 thing, and that's a voyage with yourself as everything is. There's nothing that is not a voyage with you, anything other than with yourself. The second thing is about truth. And truth is not what you think it is. There is not an absolute truth. That's the scary part of it. That truth is an evolutionary process that continues to develop as we become more and more conscious and go back to the place we began. Because consciousness is not something you develop and grow with and learn. It's something that you go back to because you were ultimately as conscious as you possibly could ever be at conception. Do you remember that? And so what is truth if it's evolutionary and it's a continuum? Does anyone know what that is? You're here supposedly trying to search for truth. And obviously, none of you know what that is, do you? What the hell are you here?
Be happy.
No, happy is a symptom of truth. Yes?
I was going to say, instead of truth, perhaps it's your own subjective experience.
Say that again?
Instead of truth, it's your own subjective experience of reality.
Well, that's one way to look at it. Everything is your subjective experience. There's one message I want to get into you over the next several weeks is never ever think there's anything happening to you. Never ever think you have control over anything but yourself. And never ever think that any issue in your life cannot be dealt with 100% successfully by you. That you only have the capacity to accept into your life things that you're able to remedy. And once you have authenticity, you're capable of remedying it. So that's why number 2 is truth. So again, as the symptomology of truth is happiness, and the perception of truth may be from inside, what we have as a symptom of authenticity is truth. Do you follow what I just said to you? So the symptom of authentic is truth. There is no authentic event or person in the world's history that doesn't come from a place of truth. That is an evolutionary process. And this can be frustrating to people with limited minds. Because you're going to say, when I heard her say, last year, bang, 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 I wrote it down and I made a religion out of it. And this year she said, boom, 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 and shit. It was the opposite of what she said last year. You know why? She's more interested in truth than impression. You follow what I'm saying to you? Mm-hmm. And that's where you've got to be. You've got to be so incredibly endowed with your own existence that you're willing to say whatever you feel at the time because you know it's coming from where?
Heart.
The heart. Because the heart's the only thing that actually speaks 100% with truth and volumes 100% of the time. You know the difference when you hear people speaking from their heart and people speaking from their head, do you not? Yes. There's a radical difference between one and the other. And, you know, when I think back at some of the great people I listened to speak, you know, Jack Kennedy was one. Now, he wasn't a genius, but Jack Kennedy was authentic. Martin Luther King was another. When you hear these people speak, you know what they're saying is speaking from their heart to your heart. And that's why it resonates. And that's why, by the way, their words will be remembered until the last human being is on this earth, because it comes from the place of truth, the symptom of authenticity. Do you follow that? So you've got to knock your shit off and start coming back to the place in your life where you basically realize that everything you've been taught and how to act is completely wrong. It's bizarre. We've been taught to be pretentious assholes that literally mimic what others have done in the past so that we become social norms and we become, quote, normal, rather than be excessively who you are at any given moment, no matter what it means, no matter what impression that may leave, because that's the right thing to do. Now, which one do you think you get fulfilled with and which one do you think you never get fulfilled with?
The authentic.
Of course, the authentic. If you're not being fulfilled, you're not happy, you're not happy, you're not productive. You're not productive, why are you alive? That's another formula. That's like 1 and 1 makes 2. If you're not being fulfilled, you're not happy. If you're not happy, you're not productive. If you're not productive, why are you alive? To learn more intellectually, so you can spew some other person's information out that you learned because you want to fit in and be normal? Do you get what I'm saying to you? But you want to speak from your heart. Now, a lot of you think, gee, it's going to take me years to do this. It takes 1 second. You've got to let go of yourself. This doesn't take effort, by the way. You already have the knowledge and wisdom and everything required in your life. But the fact of the matter is, what's getting in the way? The what?
Ourselves.
But which part of yourself? It's upstairs. The brain. The brain can create God, and the brain can create negativity, which is ego. Ego is the lack of heart. You understand that? If you really want to know what ego is a lack of heart. Ego is when you're the pretender. Again, you're either authentic or you're the actor. You're doing what you've been told. If you do this, you're going to get that result. If you do this, you're going to get that result. And remember, look at every single human being who's moved humanity forward. They never did this or that. What did they do? They spoke from their heart. There was never an exception, ever in history. How many damn times do we have to see it before we learn. Do you follow?
Yeah.
So if you want to be fitting in, so you have just a mundane, normal life, and when you die, they'll say on your tombstone, didn't do much, didn't say much, but got by. You follow me? Or this person was unbelievably outrageous and often shook things up, but we know the entire time they were having the 3-letter F word. Fun! Fun! A symptom of not having fun is not being fulfilled. So if number 1 is authenticity and number 2 is truth, and truth is what? Because I said it in 10 ways so you could get it.
Following your heart.
Not only following your heart, speaking from your heart. Speaking from your heart. And it's hard. I sit here and preach this to you, and I get caught up sometimes too. You know, the head jumps in and says, no, you can't do that. Every time it's wrong. 100% of the time it's wrong. If you just let this go, 100% of the time it's right. And the last part is the F word that I just spoke about 4 different times. No.
Fulfillment.
Fulfillment. Why are you here? To be fulfilled. I'm here for many reasons. No, you're not. You're here for one reason, to be fulfilled. Now, if you're not fulfilled, you're not what again? Productive. You're not productive. Why are you here? Do you see how simple this all is, people? This is like what they should have taught us in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, PhD programs, right through. These are the 3 commands. You got to be authentic. It comes from the heart. You got to tell truth. It comes from the heart. And you got to be fulfilled to fill up the heart. It's all about the heart.